Colin, you have been inside of a farm and you have been outside of a gas chamber slaughterhouse.
Did you feel the weight of your choices?
Sort of.
Why do you think you ignored it?
I don't think I ignored it.
We've all got family members who won't even watch Dominion.
No, this is too much for me.
None of the industries should exist.
I never really took the time, and I should have.
One question, are you vegan?
This is not another debate about veganism. This is about stepping into the shadows of an industry that most people will never see and confronting it head on.
What happens when a non-vegan agrees to go undercover inside of a factory farm and then is taken to see the horrors of a gas chamber slaughterhouse? Will it change his beliefs or will he turn away from what he has seen?
Join us as the activists that took that man to take that journey. We're going to experience the highs, the lows, the raw emotions of what it took, and then stay tuned to the end for the big question, did it change his life? And you never know, it might change yours too.
Colin also has a surprise that even his brother Chris and our other activist Calvin doesn't even know that he's done yet, that we will reveal during this podcast.
So I'm Calvin, I'm a videographer and photographer. I've been an activist for a year now with my wife Ashley and our son Ziggy. I go undercover to film and document what goes on there, and we do protests together, and we have a channel called Vegan Multitaskers.
My name's Chris Hines. I've been a vegan animal rights activist for the last 10 years. I've been involved in undercover investigation, done school university talks, been involved in countless different activism groups, currently making a animal rights music documentary, and I'm also the brother of this guy over here.
My name's Colin. I'm obviously the brother of Chris, as he just said.
Why have you done this?
I think the main reason for it was because of my brother's activism, and it was time for me to take the plunge really and actually, rather than just palming him off all the time.
It's only been 10 years.
Yeah, Mr. Preachy Vegan, it's time to look, it's time to see, it's time to actually go and see it for myself. It's so easy to turn away from someone when you feel that all they're trying to do is shove something down your throat. And I think that's how a lot of people would view it, is someone trying to shove it down your throat. But now I've opened my eyes and I've looked at it myself, I can see that actually he's not been shoving it down my throat. It's really important, and I know how important it is to him now, and I'm glad that I finally listened.
Why do you think you ignored it?
I don't think I ignored it, because I listened as such. I listened to what you were trying to tell me. I think that it's one of those situations where every time it sort of got too hard for me, and I sort of started questioning things, that was the point where I started saying, do you know what, no, this is too much. I was putting my own emotions above actually taking the time to understand it. I was thinking, this is too much, I'll just leave it. But there comes a time where you've got to put your emotions aside and you need to actually, look and listen. I think that's sort of where, I think that's where the switch has come, really. It's just sort of, okay, fair play. I might feel this way about it, but it's time to forget about how I feel about it. Let's acknowledge it and let's educate. And by doing that, obviously I've gained that education.
Yeah, I think it's true what you just said, because I remember when we had conversations before, it would always be like, you'll be interested, and then as soon as it came to kind of like, well, you should do this, then it was kind of like you would always kind of see the barrier go up.
Yeah, once it come to that sort of the crunch, all of a sudden you go, oh no, this is too much. Palm it off and palm it off. It was always sitting there, but just kept palming it off all the time.
From a non-vegan's perspective, how was it, or how did you view Chris in your family as a vegan, talking to your family and yourself about veganism? Did you view him as weird? Did you view him as preachy? Did you view him as a problem? What's your... What was your genuine thoughts?
See, I would use the word preachy, but it's not really fitting, because it wasn't.
You can slag me off if you want.
No, but it's not.
You can be honest.
It may not feel preachy now because of what you've experienced, but if you could put your mindset back to at the time, did it feel preachy pre your experiences?
Maybe, yeah, maybe to a certain extent. I mean, I always saw how much he believed in it. Maybe that was the bit that took away the preachy part in it as such. You know, when you believe in something that much and you just want to tell people and you want to express them, you know, rather than being preachy, it almost becomes like an interest. I was always intrigued, but I never really took the time, and I should have. I just didn't. I think when it became too hard for me, when the conversation became too hard, that would be the cut-off point where I would go, this is too much. My emotions take charge now. You know, game over, end of subject.
When you say it becomes too hard, is it because maybe it becomes personally accountable?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, it does, doesn't it? It makes you think, hang on a second, what am I doing? What do I believe? Feelings towards this? And confronting something like that is a big thing. It's a big thing, you know.
Was there a part of you that was like, he's probably right, but I don't want him to be right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I feel that maybe I always knew he was right. To confront myself and tell myself, you know, now is the time to change. That was the real brick wall, you know. That was the hardest part.
I could take you back pre what we did, and I said, what's your beliefs on farming and slaughter? What would you have said?
I think that's a really easy question to answer. I would have turned around to you and said, oh, it's necessary. It's necessary. We all need it. There's not enough food to feed everybody. We've got to do this. It's the standard. This is what we do. We all eat meat. We're all meat eaters, you know.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. And I had all the arguments of, oh, you know, if how are we going to feed everybody vegan and all this, you know, that was all there. You know, I would have genuinely said it's a necessary process. We need that as humans to survive.
Did you think that farming and slaughter was humane?
Didn't think it was humane, but that's solely because I didn't really understand how it was all done.
The reason why I ask is because, I mean, we're all in the same boat that when pre our connection with the animals and what happens to them, we believe the stories of the happy farm and the happy caring farmer.
Yeah.
And, you know,
well, you kind of imagine they live these really lovely lives, don't they? And then all of a sudden, you know, they go off to their fate and they end up on our dinner plate.
Yeah, it's a bit like the dairy thing, isn't it? I mean, that's one of the reasons I never switched from vegetarian to vegan, because I thought, oh well, the dairy cows aren't dying; they're just getting milked. You know?
Especially, you know, being your brother, I got to the point where I felt, well, you know, hang on a second, Colin. Do you know what I mean? You owe this to him.
my question is aimed towards the other two activists. Why do you think it's important? Probably not necessary to take a non-vegan like into a farm at 2 a.m, but why do you guys think it's important to expose non-vegans to the realities of, first of all, farming, and second of all, slaughterhouses?
Firstly, it's important to have photo evidence and video evidence of what goes on, because these are closed walls. Farmers don't want people to see what's going on behind these closed walls. So it's important to capture that. And I think it's really powerful to have that testimony, because people can, when you talk to people, people say, oh, that's not a UK farm, or nah, that's just one farm. But if you've been to multiple farms and you can share your witness statement of what you've experienced, then people can't argue with that.
Yeah, you can prove it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can say, well, actually, that's my footage, and that's what I saw. So I think that's really powerful. Yeah. And I think, as a photographer, I'm mainly a photographer, and I think there's so much power in a photo. I think people react to a photo in different ways, and a still image can really just grab someone. So that's why I do what I do, and it's important to, I think, share with your loved ones as well. So in fact, Colin was there experiencing it, but if I go and show my family and my friends, this is what I've experienced, then I think that has the power to change them. Whereas, you know, a stranger on the street, they don't know me, they might not react in that way. But when my parents or my sibling can see my heartbreak, and as I'm showing them, then it has the power to really impact them, I think.
Yeah, I second that completely. I mean, like, one of the things I found when I started going in places is just people just started to take you more seriously, because it's a bit kind of like, people can't say, oh, well, you've never been on a farm, you're just watching these videos, and you know, that could be the worst of the worst. You're like, well, hold on, actually I'm there. Like, here's a picture of me in this facility,
Yeah.
it kind of breaks down that kind of wall and it's like, oh, okay, that's actually real. Like, I know that person, I can see them there. So that was the biggest thing I found. And it's important for people to kind of go in and see it for themselves as well, because in that same way, if you watch like a documentary like Dominion or Earthlings or something, it has that almost kind of unreal cinema kind of effect of kind of, I don't know, it doesn't seem real.
Can I interject? Because you don't get the smell. That's one part of it. You don't get that, and you don't get the full image. You get snippets. You don't get the whole atmosphere of where you're going in.
Yeah, 100%. There's more to it than just the visual. It's and the way we describe it, it's a feeling ultimately. You know, like seeing those animals in those situations and seeing the real sorrow and everything in their eyes and what they're going through it's not just a visual, it's a feeling. You can you feel their energy. Their energy is so dense and dark, and it just brings a whole new element. I mean, it's you know, I guess the difference would be like going to a cinema, then going to like an IMAX with like all the extra wind, water kind of thing. It's, you know, it's a different experience, and you will only get that by going in. It makes it makes things as real as they can be, I guess. But like I said,
100%.
And just having that thing of just being able to say that you've been there, and because, you know, when we think about slaughterhouses and farms, most people think about it, they think that they're these places that in most people's minds don't exist. It's like Narnia.
Yeah.
You know, who goes to a farm? Who goes to a slaughterhouse? Most people don't even know where a slaughterhouse is. If you ask someone like, where's a local slaughterhouse? They're not going to have a clue. It brings this like fantasy location into reality, and suddenly you realize, you know, that everything you thought and everything you believed has been a lie, and the world's quite a dark place. Don't know if I bring the tone down, but
that's reality for the animals. It is, and I feel exactly the same. One thing that really stood out to me was the feeling of the animals, the aura they have, the energy they have, the emotions that you see in their eyes that you can't always get that through a screen. I completely feel that as well. I was really surprised by that. How do you emotionally prepare someone to go into these places, especially when that person is your brother?
You can, to a point, by just kind of, you know, like we had a chat about kind of like giving examples of what he might see, kind of thing. Like also, I mean, one thing we haven't even spoken about is the fact that obviously it was you guys' first time in this farm as well. So we had this chat all together about, you know, what you might see, the feelings you might have, what you might feel when you get home, which is a big thing. You know, that whole thing of, you know, you've seen it, now you go home, you sit in your warm bed and you think about it and you're like, they're still there. I can't do anything to help them. And you've somehow got to process that those animals still today, like we're sat here today, some of those animals that we've seen are still there. Some of those mother pigs might still be in those farrowing crates. And you've got to find a way to do, you know, to kind of deal with that. And I guess the only thing you can do is you've just got to think, well, I'm going to help expose, I'm going to help try and bring people, you know, the reality of what's happening, try and change minds, hearts, try and help the future animals, which is, it's awful. Like, it's awful to say, you know, you want to help the ones that are there.
Yeah.
You know, like a line that really hit home with you said, like these animals need saving tonight.
Yeah.
Not in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
You know, so it's, it's just trying to, just kind of get your head around it and stuff, and try and, when you get home, to try and think like, you know, almost get back to normal life. As weird as it sounds, you've got to switch yourself off from it. Otherwise, it will just drive you mad. That's what I mean. You know, like the stuff I've seen over the years has literally given me trauma, and I've got to just go, right, I'm home now, and I've got to blank it out. Otherwise, if I keep thinking about stuff, it's just, I'm not going to be productive, and I've got to be productive for them, for those future animals. I can't, you know, I'm no good to the animals if I'm crime mental mess.
As we were saying with supporting emotionally, that leads us on to saying a big thank you to the Base Retreat Animal Rescue for providing this amazing venue for us to use today. This is an amazing place for activists or vegans or non-vegans to come and stay. They've got a hot tub, sauna, all the animals here as well that you can cuddle. This is somewhere where you can really recharge. They do afternoon teas, spa days or overnight stays. We'll put up the details, and they also want to give Colin and his family a free night stay here for everything you have done for the animals. They really appreciate your bravery for what you have done, and that's their way of giving back to you. So thank you so much.
No way! Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's
So thank
amazing.
you. So everyone's supporting each other, and you'll really appreciate it for what you've done.
Thank you, Baze.
We're going to talk about the first video, the farm, going inside the farm. Colin, what I want to know for you is what stood out the most? Was it the sights, the smells, the aura, the atmosphere? When you opened that door and you turned around, what were the senses that stood out the most?
I mean, visually, when I walked into the room, the first thing that jumped out immediately was rats. I think we probably all saw that. They were bellowing out of the food trays. I mean, it was like a bloody tsunami of rats. And the smell, that smell, I mean, I don't know, it hits you so hard. You can barely breathe. It's sickening, really. But once you actually sort of stepped in there, you know, and you saw the conditions of what they're in, it was really hard to like grasp what you were looking at first. It just sort of took me, I don't know, it just took me aback, really. It took me a minute to kind of, you know, tell myself, hang on a second, like, do you realize what you're seeing? You know, it's like that dreamlike state, isn't it? You know, you sort of almost go into that shock of, what am I doing? You know, where am I right now? You know, what is it that I'm, you know, what is it I'm experiencing?
Anyone who's seen that video can see that clearly. Your emotions when you went in. I remember watching the video back, it was really clear that it was almost like wave after wave after wave of emotion hitting you.
Yeah.
And that realization of, hang on, like this is in front of me.
Yeah. It was horrendous, absolutely horrendous.
I remember there was a moment where you looked really angry at what you were seeing. What was the most standout moment that you saw? Was there a particular animal who you had this real connection with, or was it just everything?
I think I know which part you're talking about, and actually me and Chris were having a discussion at that point, and he was telling me about these farrowing crates and how long they spend in these farrowing crates. I think it was that mixed with, you know, these dead piglets. I mean, we all saw the state of that place. I mean, you know, the walls were peeling away with just, I mean, I don't know. It's like the walls are just soaked in death over years, you know. But yeah, I think it was that realization of someone is doing this. Someone is allowing this. They are passing this off, and they're saying, no, it's okay. Like, you know, this is fine. I think that point, I remember it. I do remember it. I think it was that point where I did feel really angry to think that actually this has been allowed.
Was there any moments during that angry spike where you're saying someone is allowing this, someone is doing this? Was there any moments of accountability? Was there any thoughts of, they're here because of me?
I'll be honest, I don't think that my mind processed as deep as that at that point. I think I was very much in a position, you know, of just trying to cope with what's in front of me. So I'm not sure whether my mind went as far as that. At that point, I think it was just cope. Like,
There's a lot.
You know,
Yeah.
There's a lot.
yeah, let's, you know, I think I was sort of just telling myself, you know, this is hard, but take it in, you know, look at what's going on here, you know, as much as we all wanted to just leave that room. I mean, who wanted to spend bloody another minute in there?
I think it's something worth adding in here, which wasn't really brought up in the video, but I think it's actually quite important, because some people might think that, you know, we kind of just picked like this bad farm for you to go to. So for pure and kind of clarity for everybody, that was a farm that I visited probably 5 years prior. I hadn't been to that farm for 5 years, and when I went to that farm, it was pretty much, you know, like the second room we went in. Kind of like it was quite clean, kind of thing. It was just your standard farm. So that first room, I wasn't even aware of that room. Just to kind of, you know, like I had no idea. And that farm, when I went to that, was found randomly on a map. There's never been any investigations going on there or anything like that. It's not like a cruelty case or anything. It is just a standard farm. And I think that's just important for people to know, because some people kind of go, oh, well, you just took him to the worst of the worst kind of thing. It wasn't at all. It was just one I knew we could get into. It was just one where I was like, I know the entry points, it's quite safe. Like, we're away from everything. I think we can do it all, because, again, it was Mel and Steve's first time in there as well. And I wanted to make sure, and Calvin's only your second time, I wanted to make sure everyone was safe. So it was just the one that I thought would be the safest. There was never an intention of going in there and being like, I'm going to show them the worst of the worst to try and shock you. Like, that's just how pig farms are, kind of thing. I just think it's just important that people realise that, because, you know, people would make up anything to try and discredit them. I don't want people to start being like, oh yeah, they just picked a cruelty case kind of thing. It was really bad, like you just took him there because that wasn't the case whatsoever. I expected every single place to be like that second clean room, but obviously you just don't know. Like, every farm's different.
Well, the second you were talking about it, and I think it's important for viewers to hear this as well. This clean room, as we're calling it, it was a completely different ball game, and yes, you could deem it as clean compared to the first room that we went in. But this clean room was absolutely rammed with flies. They were in your eyes, in your ears. They just covered you when you went in there. And I think we all came to the same conclusion that the only reason why this room was filled with flies and the other one wasn't is because the other one was that bad that the flies couldn't even survive. You know, it was literally that bad. A fly couldn't live in there.
The room full of flies. The next day, I found out I had bites on my face.
Did you really?
Yeah,
So
because it was so thick.
yeah.
So I imagine we were in there like 5 minutes. Those pigs are there, all day, every day. So they just must get bit and crawled on and.
Oh man, they must just be coating them. I mean, the thing is, as well, where did those flies come from? Obviously, dead piglets that have been left to rot, like we saw in the other rooms.
The next thing that's worth mentioning as well is, like, whether one was clean or dirty, the pigs are still going through the same experience. Like, it's still the same for the pigs ultimately. You know, they're not like having a better time. Kind of thing, like, oh yeah, this one's a little bit cleaner, kind of thing.
Yeah, I really wanna let the viewers know, though, when we say clean, this isn't clean.
Yeah.
It's just
Cleaner.
Yeah, it's not clean.
My next question is for everyone, so we can take it in turns answering it. And I know that I did. So my response to this question is, I want to know if everyone in here had a personal moment of connection with an individual. For me, you probably see in the video, there was a mother pig who was about to give birth in the far left-hand corner of the first room. And in the video, when I watched it back, I was unaware I was talking to her. I completely and really acknowledged that I was talking to her. I was just there and I just really connected. It felt like she looked right into me. And I was chatting away to her. She's stayed with me ever since. So I really had a personal connection with her. I'm interested to know if anyone else had the same.
Yeah, everyone stood out, and there was a couple. There was a mother who was in the first crate, and she had her dead baby in front of her nose, and she was trying to move her dead baby with all her other babies around. And I just remember seeing the sadness in her eyes. It just ripped my heart out. And then there was another little piglet in the clean room where there was so many flies that this piglet couldn't even open his eyes or her eyes because they had gone in her eyes so many times. She was like this, and it's so hard leaving, not being able to remove them from that situation and take them to a sanctuary where they'll have love.
Yeah, mine was, I captured it a photo. It's one of the most powerful photos I've got, and there was a mother and her child, and they were nose to nose, but the bars were stopping her getting any closer, and they were just touching each other's nose gently, and just can't get any closer connection other than that, just nose to nose. And I took that, and that's one of, I think, the most powerful things I've managed to capture so far. And go check it out. It's a really moving picture.
Yeah.
I've kind of learned over the years to try not to connect with them purely from a mental health perspective, because I guess a way to describe it, and I'll bring this back to Mel. Remember the chicken farm you went into, and you connect with the chicken, and then you can't stop thinking about them. You start to get that internal connection with them, and it's a heavy burden to carry. It's a really heavy burden to carry, and I kind of now go into places and almost go into like work mode. I'm like, like when we went in, I was just like, right, I want to make sure everyone's okay, like educate Colin on some stuff, make sure everyone's doing stuff, lead people around, kind of thing. And as much as I kind of look and take in everything, I try not to, because I just can't hack doing it all the time. It's just, when you've done it once, it's one thing. When you keep doing it all the time, it just, that's another individual you've got to think about, and another individual, and another individual. And there's already, a perfect example is, so if anyone's seen the film Hogwood, I was watching the film just because about Hogwood, and there ended up being some footage from a dairy investigation I did, where there was a dairy cow we actually had to euthanize at like 3 a.m. because she was so bad, and I wasn't expecting to see that footage in the film whatsoever, and it came on and it was just hit me like kind of thing, and it's just like, oh my god, like because I've got that personal attachment of seeing this poor mother get we had to kill her for her own good. So yeah, it's kind of long-winded, but I just can't.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think one of the connections that I had, which I think may have been the same pig. I can't quite picture exactly where she was within that first room, but I do remember you mentioning before, Steve, about a pig that was sat up like a dog.
Yes, that was her.
Was that her? Because I remember seeing her. She was the only one that was sat up, and her head was pressed right against the front of the farrowing crate, and eyes were just white, absolutely white. And I remember seeing her and the desperation. Yeah. And that really hit me. The way she was sat up and that whole pressed against it, it was like, get me out of here now, and that was quite, that was quite a connection for me.
I think that's when we were talking about the farrowing crates. I think when we were stood over that area.
Yeah, it was towards the back when we went in the room, and it was towards that back end. Yeah. But I can't remember exactly whereabouts she was situated in there, but I just remember she was the only one that was sitting up. And I remember you saying about a pig that was sitting up like a dog. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the same one.
She hadn't had babies yet.
She was getting ready to give birth, and and you're right. She had this look of desperation on her face. She looked at me, and with her eyes and with her expressions, it was a signal of help. Yeah, I could see that she was looking at me like, please help. Just get me out of here. And one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life was to turn around and walk the other way, thinking my weapon in this war is this camera. I can only do this. And it never feels enough, and it felt nowhere near it. It felt so insignificant to just document her plight and walk away from her. But it was that personal moment of connection, because I felt responsible for leaving her. It was horrific. And it haunts me every day, but for me, I use that as my fuel to right, next. What can we do to get them liberation? Well, let's make her story heard and
She's
seen.
Definitely been a prominent visual in my mind since then. It's one out of the visuals that I collected, or whatever you want to say, from all that. She has been quite a prominent visual.
Something I'd quite like to ask is, again, we haven't really touched on the fact that it was your guys' first time in a pig farm? You know, we've focused it all on Colin, but like, you had literally just been to the chicken farm like the night before, and then like, what were you guys expecting, and what was the kind of feelings and everything you had? Obviously, you've been an activist for ages, you've seen all the footage and everything, but what was it like for you guys to finally step into Dominion? Like, you know, talk us through that.
It really felt like we said in the video, it's like stepping into another world, like a hidden underworld that no one even knows about. The footage that we've seen from other activists is all that we had to go on, and I would say that it only gives you a fraction of how you actually feel inside of a farm. The personal emotions are so intense, so heart-wrenching. Like you said, you leave, but you can't stop thinking about them. I can't sleep all the time just thinking about these eyes and these beings that I've seen. And I hate so much that I have freedom and they don't. And I just feel like that's so unfair. And it makes me so angry that there's people in this world putting them in this situation and they have freedom. And that's really hard to deal with. And like you said, we use all that sad emotion and fire to help them, to do everything we can to expose these horrors and to show people the truth, because there are so many good people out there who just don't know. I was one of them once. I loved animals all my life and I just did not know. So I think it's so important to do that. But what I expected is I just can't explain in words how bad it is. There is no word that exists to explain how bad farms are.
You almost know how bad it's going to be, but until you're there, it's so much worse, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so much worse.
I'd been to one before, and it was actually interesting how different they were. They were both filthy and flies, all the flies, dead piglets everywhere. But the one I went to before was very industrial, very metal. It had the farrowing crates, whereas this one was just filthy. It was like a scene from Saw, which I wasn't prepared. I thought I'd see the same thing as before, but then when I went in, again, rats everywhere. It was just, I saw bad, and then I saw even worse.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that. So, yeah, that was a real eye-opener for me on how bad it can get and still be allowed. Like, how is that? How are they allowed to, treat animals that way and it be okay for
we saw from the kill charts that they're still working, aren't they? They're going in and they're ticking them off, so they're still doing it.
How can someone go in and go, yeah, this is perfectly acceptable? We know that we all are abolitionists, so we feel none of these industries should exist. But the fact that those that believe they should exist and oversee them and go, yeah, that's perfectly fine. Oh, all them rats eating the food.
Yeah,
don't worry about that.
I find this too. Something that is so traumatizing for us to see as the general public. There's someone going around that farm every day or whenever, ticking boxes, being like, yep, cool, picking up dead babies, or maybe not, seeing the rats, seeing the mothers in there, seeing the saws, and just go, cool. They just see them as price tags.
And even if you consider like zoonotic diseases, you've got rats eating out the same trays as pigs, and then dead pigs next to the rats, and
the rats eating the dead pigs.
Rats
You can't forget about the.
You imagine, and then
they're
they're literally urinating and pooing in their own pig food. Like it's
There's one thing we haven't spoke about as well. This really haunted me, was that there was that room that we couldn't get into, that was boarded up.
With the pigs,
and
the screaming,
The screams is what you expect hell to sound like.
that has stuck with me. Like we said, that sounded like pigs were being churned up in there.
It sounded like pure torture.
Horrendous,
yeah.
And that was non-stop going whilst we were there. That the screams in there never stopped.
Yeah.
What about you, Steve? Like,
For me, I just remember feeling a huge spike in sadness and anger of witnessing such rights violations of individuals. Like, it really stuck out. I mean, through the screen we see animals as individuals, we see it, but being there was another layer of this I can see this individual as having their rights violated so extremely to the point that they aren't even considered the same as a chair. You know, they are really considered as just like a sack of sand. There's no bodily autonomy. There's no freedom. There's no thought. There is just every level of exploitation that you could possibly put onto someone. They have it 10 times worse in every which way. And I just remember thinking, there is no relief from any angle that they're being exploited of. And for me, I knew how urgent they needed us, but going into this place, for me personally, like when I said in the car they needed saving tonight, I just had this like, oh my gosh, like this fight really, really needs to intensify. Like we need to fight for them harder, because we've just walked away from a load of individuals that what can we do? Like, do you know, I can't even put it into words. Like, you turn away, you shut the door, you walk away, and I'm like, what the hell just happened?
You feel helpless.
You feel like the special forces that have just gone behind enemy lines, gone all the way into where the what they call the hostages are being held, and we get to them and we just go click,
take a
picture and walk out.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's not what these people do. They get to the hostages and then they take them out because they realise every individual matters. And it just really struck me how little these beings are considered. And having spent time with individuals at sanctuaries, realising like this is someone having the subjective experience of such horrific exploitation. So for me, all these things really, it was like a heightened of senses. It was like a sensory overload that just, when the dust settled, just left you with this gut-wrenching, depressing sadness, which for me, I've had to turn into anger, to turn into action.
Do you remember pointing out the pig's eyes at the sanctuary?
Yeah.
And showing me the difference between...
The difference in it, yeah, you can show a close-up picture of an eye of a pig in a sanctuary and where we came from. Yeah. And I could tell you who was in the farrowing crate or in the farm
100%,
and who was in the sanctuary.
There's a huge difference.
And I think this is why our message out there needs to be serious for the animals. We can't not say certain words because we're afraid of offending whoever, whatever. It is what it is, and this is a massive emergency to change now. These animals need us all to change now, and they also need us to become warriors for them right now. It is the biggest emergency on this planet.
What did you guys notice from your perspective of how Colin reacted inside the farm?
He reacted in the way that I expected him to. Because, you know, the reason I always wanted him to go in and do everything is because Colin is a massive animal lover. He always has been. We both always have been. Like, that's just how it's been since, like, we were kids kind of thing. I knew Colin would see something like that and he would instantly be like, that is fucked. I knew he would. There's nothing in my mind that made me think Colin's going to go in there and think this is fine. It's just not a thing. So he acted in almost exactly the way I thought he would, you know. And to be honest, it's the same way that any compassionate person would. Yeah. You see another living being suffering in a position that they shouldn't be, being exploited, and you want to help them. That's just the natural way to exist. That's the natural way to be a decent human being. You know, and exactly same as if I could take my mum in, or dad. You know, as much as dad can be stubborn about it. You know, he knows, he understands. He's a compassionate person. Yeah. And I know full well that if I could stand them there, they would do exactly the same, have exactly the same reaction as you. Yeah. They'd be like, "That's an injustice. That shouldn't be happening." You know, we got to do something about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think I expected Colin to react the way you did. Because who wouldn't? You know, you'd have to be, you know, a real incompassionate person to not feel, you know, sadness, anger. You went through all those emotions that kind of any of us would. And what I there was no part of me, I don't think any of us, that were like, well, this is because of you, you're paying for this and stuff. There was none of that. We were united in our grief and our anger and our hatred of what was happening to them. And I think that is why it's powerful for non-vegans to see it as much as vegans, because you become united in it. But I think that's the difference of being there. The fact that you were there, you were witnessing this. A lot of non-vegans, they share the videos and they try and debunk it, or they try and downplay it, or say it's humane, it's normal, we need this. But the fact that you went and saw it, and in that moment you felt those feelings, is testament to who you are as a person. And your compassion.
I actually think it's really important to put across as well how compassionate that all of you guys were towards me, because obviously you guys have got these views, and the amount of support that you showed me during that, that shouldn't be unrecognised. I feel that that's important to say. I guess that's kind of something I'm saying to you guys as well, is that, listen to the people around you that are telling you about these things, and show them compassion. The same as with my brother, really, like showing him compassion and thinking, oh, well, he's got a point here, I should actually think about this, thanks. Really, it helped a lot, it helps a lot,
I'm interested in is, we had that call after we went to the farm, and you were in this real state of confusion kind of thing, and you even said, like, oh, I'm not gonna kind of say that I've made any big changes or anything like that, I don't know. Can you kind of talk us through a bit more about that, like, like what was going on in your head? Kind of elaborate on that a bit. Obviously we're just taking you to something really traumatic, and then suddenly you're kind of faced with the reality of, like, I'm kind of a part of this, I'm kind of the reason they're there. Like, what was going on in your head, do you think? Because most people, the reason I'm saying it is, most people would expect that someone goes into a farm and they're instantly going to go, that's it, I'm done, I'm ready to go, I'm making this big life change. Yeah. But with you came home and it was like your brain was fighting.
At that point, I was going through the motions of, I guess, what do I think? Do you know what I mean? What do I feel about all of this? And it was almost like, when I said that, it was like, oh, well, I'm not going to make a promise. Do you know what I mean? I kind of like knew what I wanted to do. I don't know. It's really hard to explain where I was at that point. I was so torn on every angle.
I remember you saying it doesn't feel real. It's like my brain's trying to make it feel like it's a dream or a horror movie, that it's actually not real.
Yeah. I didn't know how I felt, so I didn't want to turn around and sort of start saying, oh, that's it, I've changed, and sort of making promises that, at that point, I didn't know whether I could keep, So it was a real state of confusion.
We've spoken so far about the farm investigation. Viewers at this point may be thinking, like, okay, you've described this farm. A lot of people pointed out it was a random farm. It is standard, but people may be thinking, yeah, but there's better welfare and they don't have to go through. We don't have to have farrowing crates, for example. We could do it in a different way. So off the back of the farm visit, when you still had that level of confusion, we put to you that we should go to a slaughterhouse where pigs would be taken to have their lives taken, because this would highlight the fact that this wasn't a welfare issue. There is no nice way to do the wrong thing. There's no good way to kill somebody. So by taking you to the slaughterhouse, we were able to show you that, yes, the standard farming practices across the UK and the world are horrific, but even if they were the most fluffy, happy, lovely farms that we were taught when we were children, the thing that happens to them in the slaughterhouse, this is where, the exploitation and the rights violation is the highlight of what we should be focused on, not the welfare. So we arrived super early on the day, and we got to the gas chamber. It was a Pilgrim's Pride gas chamber in the UK. We rocked up around 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30 in the morning. When you got out of the car and you walked over to the Slaughterhouse, talk me through your mindset. What were you thinking? What were your thoughts? What were your emotions? Talk me through from your perspective.
The first thing I sort of like kind of grasped me was the enormity of it. The place was huge. Do you know what I mean? And it was a bit like, whoa, you know, what is this? Because I've never seen them before. And the sounds and all that sort of stuff. I think the thing that was getting me right smack bang at the beginning was the thought of the trucks coming in. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how are you going to feel when you see these animals on the trucks? Yeah. And I think that was my mindset at the very beginning, was like preparing myself for when the first truck came in. I was almost sort of saying, like, okay, right, be ready. It's, it's going to come, it's going to happen. And yeah, I think that's where my mindset was initially at. It was just preparing myself for, again, like what I was going to see.
Yeah. And when you did see those pigs for the first time in those trucks, were they looking fearful? Were they happy? Were they muddy? What did you see when you looked through?
It was disgusting. I mean, it was, first of all, I mean, again, we go back to the eyes. You look through the tiny holes or whatever in the side of the trucks, and you can just see them all crammed in together. They're covered in their own excrement, most likely because they're scared to death. Their eyes are so wide. You can see immediately they know something is about to happen. Do they know exactly what's about to happen? Maybe not, but they know that they are not going to a good place. And the amount of them, the amount of pigs we saw go through those gates, you wouldn't believe it. I mean, we was thousands, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's easy when you're there, isn't it, to see the numbers again, but it's really important to remember to bring back down to the individual. There was thousands of individuals crammed into that truck. I mean, this question we could all answer. We'll start with you, Colin, then we'll go through everyone, because I know I feel it every time I go to a slaughterhouse, is I still feel super emotional and weirded out that I am stood in the same area so close to death.
Yeah.
Like, I'm stood in an area where innocent beings are dragged and forced and they have no escape from. And this is the area where they are brought to die.
Yeah.
That for me always is a really poignant part. How did it feel for you being in that area so close to death?
The same. The same. It was, I think at first I was, sort of, at first, I think when I first looked into the trucks, I was trying to grasp, what are the pigs kind of feeling. I wasn't necessarily thinking about myself. But when you realise that, like you were saying, all of these animals that you're looking at right now, every single one of them are going to be dead within the hour. All of them. Not one of those beings are going to be alive within the hour. Yeah. That was really hard hitting. It was really, really hard hitting. And again, it was that initial shock of, me trying to reason, that reason with myself, why is this happening, and what's, it was just, it's turmoil for the brain, really, and obviously turmoil for them as well. But yeah, to be in that position, and it was horrendous. Yeah.
What about you, Chris?
I find Slaughterhouse Vigils really, really strange in the fact that it's, how can I describe this? It's almost like bittersweet, I guess is the only word I can comes to mind. Like, when you go to a farm and you go home, they're still there. When you go to a slaughterhouse, that their journey of exploitation has ended, which in some cases is almost a good thing for some of these beings, as much as that's a just horrible thought, some of the situations these animals in are so horrific that death is almost the nicer option. So sometimes it's, like I said, it's that bittersweetness of like, you didn't deserve this, you shouldn't be being killed. But considering you might have lived in one of the farms that, you know, we visited or something like that, it just makes you think, is that almost for the best for you, kind of thing? And it doesn't justify what's going on or anything. And obviously I don't want any of these animals to go through this, but it's just that horrible thing where it's just like, it's the end of their torture. And, you know, and it ends in torture, which is the thing that's worse, isn't it? Especially with the gas chambers kind of thing, you know, that what they have to go through. You know, it's, yeah, I just find I find it, Slaughterhouse is just, it's a very different experience to going into a farm. Very different experience, because like when you, at least when you go home, you're kind of like, they're at peace now. You know, they're out of this world, they're out of that hell. You know, and hopefully they're somewhere, you know, where they can enjoy whatever the afterlife brings them. Yeah, I don't really know what to kind of say after that.
What about you, Calvin?
Yeah, I think they are very different when you see them. What you were saying, I think when I see a dead piglet on a farm, I'm almost like, well, the alternative is much worse. So it's almost like, again, bittersweet, like you've got a dead piglet and that's absolutely tragic and horrible and it shouldn't happen, but at least they're not going to have a life, like months, not even a long life, but months of exploitation.
Yeah. Actually, I've got an example, don't mind chiming quick. If anyone's seen The Handmaid's Tale, you've seen Handmaid's Tale? Okay, when those babies get born into existence in Handmaid's Tale, you almost want them to have a miscarriage.
Yeah.
Because you know the life that they're going to get brought into.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of mean by this kind of bittersweetness. This, you want this life to come into existence and have a fruitful time and have this, experience the amazing parts of life, but you know they're just being brought into hell. And that happening to them is, like you said, is almost like, is it better for them? And these are the kind of weird, horrible thoughts you have to have at these places. Like, you don't have these thoughts anywhere else. Like, when do we ever have to think about this stuff? We don't. But this is the reality for these animals. This is what we've got to think about.
Yeah, there was
Screwed up.
I've got, what I also know is it was all the people, all the workers arriving and just feeling absolute, just anger towards them, that they're just like cruising along. Some of them are real flashy cars, you know, that they got off the backs of exploiting animals and murdering animals, you know. So real sort of contempt for them as they were coming in. And then when the pigs arrived, it's just that heartbreak of just catching the eye of an individual and the shock of how tall the trucks are that take them in, like 3 levels. And then I managed to fly my drone low enough to just see them unloading, and it went on and on and on for minutes. And there was, you know, these poor, you know, pigs with like unable to walk, some walking sideways because they were in pain, and them like forcing them off the truck, like kicking them off and like pushing them off, and then at one point they stopped allowing them to. They stopped the trucks from stopping, so they wouldn't even give them a second of compassion from us. They wouldn't allow that. They took that away from them, and that just, you know, made me even more angry that they just drive straight in, and we were doing nothing other than filming and taking photos. So yeah, that's how the emotions I kind of went through.
Yeah.
What about you?
So when I was at that particular slaughterhouse, I remember seeing a beautiful pig with these most beautiful big blue eyes, and I instantly put myself in the pig's body. I just felt like, what if that was me inside there? What are they seeing from their angle? And I kind of couldn't stop thinking about that individual, thinking, how would I be feeling? How would I be feeling with all my like family or babies in this truck, smelling death, knowing that I'm gonna go somewhere bad, and you're standing outside of a murderer's house, and it feels like you're standing outside of somewhere that's in history books. You don't feel like it's present day. I know one day this won't be present day, this will be in history and these places will become museums. But it feels crazy to me that everyone in the UK says they're animal lovers, yet there was thousands and thousands of beings going into this one slaughterhouse. And then when you tell people about it, they actually mock it rather than stand against it. And yeah, I can't help but come away from the slaughterhouse feeling like, why isn't there thousands of people outside here trying to shut this place down? Who the hell can work inside of here? On your drone, you captured a female slaughterhouse worker who was the killer, and I just thought, how could you? How could you? Like, you can't be the same breed as me to be able to stab someone in the throat.
What mindset have you got to be in to go and do that?
Yeah, I just feel so different. I can't comprehend their mindsets. To be able to put innocent beings inside gas chambers, inside slaughterhouses, and make money off them, and go home and have dinner.
One of the big things for me that I always feel when we're there is we take everything from them. These individuals are exploited in life, and we take everything from them. Cows, chickens, pigs, sheep, ducks, whichever species you want to pick. They have one thing in life. They have their life. To them, it's everything. And we take it from them. They don't have a choice. They have no say in it. There's no other option for them. They are just an exploited sentient being. We take every single thing they have. And then you realise we do that for fashion, entertainment, for food, and for testing. And what a horrific, violent act to be part of. Why would you want to put your name or your money or your vote towards any of that stuff?
It's just a supremacy ultimately.
It's crazy.
That's all it is. It's just we're superior. We're going to do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah. We're the top. We can do what we like. Yeah.
Colin, was there any moments that you wanted to walk away?
No moments I wanted to walk away. I've never really been that sort of person anyway. If I'm going to throw myself at something, I'll throw myself at it to the bitter end, basically.
We've definitely seen that.
Yeah, that's always been like that. I've always, I don't see the point in half-heartedly going at something. If you're gonna give it a go, give it a go. Find out as much as you can.
I think anyone who saw you try and get that ladder over a fence will
Kind
of understand.
If you had seen the ladder.
When we're at the slaughterhouse, was there a specific visual sight or a specific sound that really resonated with you, or that you really remembered? Did you feel the weight of your choices?
Yeah.
What was that?
So we, as you remember, we took a walk around to the back, didn't we, to get closer to where the chambers were, and it actually took us all a while, if you remember, to work out what it was we were hearing. And it was this sound. It's like a carousel, like the sound of a rusty old carousel going around. And at first, that's all you could hear was this rusty old carousel. But as sort of the time progressed and throughout the day, you would hear pig screams and the rusty carousel, and then silence. And then the rusty carousel and pig screams and silence. That was the part that really hit home, and I really sort of like understood where I was. Yeah, that was pretty heavy.
Horrible. And then I think for me, it was a lot of the drone footage we got. So, like I said, those pigs going out in the hundreds, and just, seeing them injured and stuff, that stuck with me. And also that truck had no roof, and it was just filled with blood.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. And to me, that...
It's like the entrails and...
Yeah. And again, I was transported back to the Cranswick site, which was, there was a sea of blood there that we all, slipped on, and took me back.
Colin, you have been inside of a farm and you have been outside of a gas chamber slaughterhouse. I've asked everyone to ask you questions, and they came back with one question. Are you vegan?
Yes.
Yay!
10 years, we did it!
Yeah.
Can't happen, people.
And
Absolutely, yeah.
was there a specific moment that you thought, yes, I need to be vegan?
It was a funny little process, actually. And I can kind of tell you a little bit of a story. So after going into the pig farm, I knew immediately then the pork was off the menu. I knew it, you know. I wasn't going near pork again. And funnily enough, it wasn't long after that that I was out with a client from work, and I went to McDonald's. And I thought, you know what, I'll get a chicken burger. I'll be all right. I'll get a chicken burger. It's not pork, you know, so I'm doing the right thing, yeah. So I got this this chicken burger, and I was sitting eating this chicken burger with one of my colleagues, Polly. Hi, and Polly turned around to me and said, "You do realise there's bacon in there?" And I was like, "Oh, you know," opened the burger, saw the bacon in there. And it was kind of a real pivotal point, because I guess at that point I kind of looked at it and thought, well, if I'm not eating the pig, then why am I eating the chicken? And you can see where the spiral goes. If I'm eating the chicken or not eating the chicken, why am I eating the fish? And if I'm, you know, not eating the fish, why? And it actually was quite a pivotal point in the whole process, to be fair. And from that day was actually the point where I went, do you know what? No, that's it. Yeah, and I went vegan from that day.
What would you say to someone who, after listening to all what you've been through, who just looks at you, shrugs their shoulders and says, it's just the way the world works?
It's time for you to open your eyes. It's time for you to actually look and see what's going on. Don't do what I did. And shrug it off, as you put it. You know, actually go out there and take a look for yourself. Research, find out about it, you know, and you'll understand the same as I did. You know, one, we don't need it. It's wrong. It's just wrong. You know, we can't continue to do this to those poor animals. We can't continue. You know, and it's simple. It's not hard. It hasn't been a big struggle for me. I haven't had to change my entire life around. You know, I'm eating better than I was before. I'm feeling healthier myself. You know, think about it. Just take the time, think about it. Don't just shrug it off.
And do you think being vegan is enough? Or do you think we need to speak up? And you're welcome to tell everyone about what we have been up to today.
Okay, veganism is just a start. You know, you change your diet first. You know, you come away from abusing animals and start teaching other people. It's all education, isn't it? It's all education. The more you can educate yourself, the more you can educate others. So, you know, I would say start with educating yourself. Yeah, and today we went out into Bristol, and I did my first bit of activism.
Nice.
Amazing.
How did it go?
Amazing.
Yeah, it was actually really, really good.
Yeah.
Really
it was
well,
really,
let me
really
show you.
positive.
What were you doing exactly? What was it?
Yeah, so I just went and spoke to some people about veganism and how they felt
Sick.
about it.
That's
Yeah,
so
it was
nice.
really, it
Look
was
at him in
really,
action.
really,
Hey,
Yeah.
nice.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, no,
epic.
it was really, really positive. And actually, the girl I was talking to, she was vegetarian, and we got onto some really good dialect about it. She was talking to me about how like cheese was one of the hardest parts, you know, sort of giving up cheese. And funnily enough, she didn't eat meat. You know, so you know, I was just telling her about different cheeses you can try, and you know, and actually give her what is it, my little special cheese on toast with the mustard and the mayonnaise. Very, very nice. Trust me, trust me. But it was lovely. I think like there was a real good connection between both of us, and actually she did come away saying, you know, I'm really going to think about this. So
That's
it was,
awesome.
yeah, it did feel like, you know, I made a difference. Really,
Good work.
yeah, it was cool.
Your story's so strong. Like I really think your jump into activism from your transition to veganism is just it is so quick. I mean, that's amazing to see, like, you know, almost straight away you're on the streets. And I think it's because your story's so powerful that, you know, a bunch of vegans took you to a farm and you experienced it firsthand. I think that is such a good testimony that you can share.
Actually, that's kind of what I want to know about.
Yeah.
So obviously you would have told them, hey, I went into a farm.
Yeah.
how did you find their reaction? Because obviously, like, I've been able to do that all my life, and there's a lot of people out there that can't do it. I mean, did you find the fact that you could say that they did take you more seriously?
I mean,
they were a bit more kind of open to it. They're like, oh, really? Like,
I mean, funnily enough, and this is actually a really, really good thing, is that a lot of the people we spoke to were actually really supportive and already vegan.
Yeah.
So quite a few people that approached us, he was just saying straight away, I support this.
oh, cool.
And with her, I didn't actually need to approach her on that level. I think she probably wanted to have that conversation anyway. But like I said, it was really nice. I think she definitely saw something in me, and obviously I told her, I'm new to this. I've only been vegan for a couple of months now. I don't know. It was a nice connection.
It was lovely to see.
Yeah, you need to watch the video and you'll see. Yeah.
But you're full of everything.
And Colin was buzzing after. He was like, "Yeah, I want to do more."
Yeah, it was really
more."
good. Yeah, it was nice.
I really love that because I think, like you said, your story is so powerful and strong. You've been brave enough to see things firsthand for yourself, break into a farm undercover, go to a gas chamber, face the victims, and then speak up for them. Because I feel like so many people stop at veganism, but then they don't speak up. But you're such a great role model for new vegans and people who have been vegan for a long time to be like, no, this is how we should be doing it. We've got to do something for them because they really need us. So thank you so much for doing that and having the bravery for what you've done to bring eyes to the animals' plight.
Yeah, no, thank you
that.
guys. Thank you for taking me on the journey. I mean, thank you, bro.
Something that I'm interested in, and I know we had a quick chat about this before on the phone. Obviously, how have you found adapting to kind of the other things? I mean, I don't know what you've been up to, kind of thing. I know you've spoken about, you don't really have that much when it comes to like clothing you needed to kind of replace or anything like that. I mean, have you kind of had to kind of question anything else outside of that currently within the last couple of months where you've kind of had to think about things a bit differently in that respect?
100%. And it's funny that you brought that up because it was literally before you guys turned up.
Oh, really?
Looking at my jacket that sat over there
Right.
to see how it was made.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were actually seeing because that jacket was given to me. I asked, sorry, I can't remember her name now.
Jackie.
Sorry, Jackie. I asked Jackie whether she knew what my jacket was made of. And she was saying, maybe it's made of down and that sort of thing. So we actually had a look at my jacket to see what the deal was with the jacket. I'm afraid to say that actually it does have down in it. One thing I do know is obviously if I'm going to go buy anything like that, I'm certainly not going to be spending anything, or I'm not going to be buying animal thing. I think it all takes time, doesn't it? There's a lot to learn. But the basics are simple. After that, just keep taking it step by step.
What I think is really amazing about seeing your journey is we've gone along this journey with you, and it feels like family. Like you feel like a brother. And, it all feels like family, and I think that's what's really important. If you go vegan, is to find a good support network where you can share your food that you're making.
Yeah,
that you
definitely.
can say, I haven't really thought about my jacket, for example. And have a little community. And one of the best ways to get community is get active and activism. You'll see that community, that family will grow, and you'll have friends all over eventually all over the world.
Talking of family, Chris, question for you. I mean, a lot of vegans watching this will be thinking, wow, I wish I could do that with my family. We've all got family members who won't even watch Dominion, let alone break into farms and go to slaughterhouses. As Colin's brother, how does it feel from your perspective? Like Colin having actually gone through what he's gone through and come out the other end and, almost put his arm around you and be like, I'm sorry I didn't listen to you earlier. And
it's amazing. I'm super proud of him, mate. It's honestly awesome. Like, I've been the lone vegan of the family,
the lone wolf,
for so many years, and as I'm sure everyone can attest to, when it is your family and close friends, stuff like that, it can really get you down because it's just like you're the people that you're closest to, and when even they won't listen to you, it's just kind of like, it's heartbreaking because you're just kind of like, you're the people meant to be on. You're
Yeah,
meant to
you're
have
the
my
ones
back.
that are meant to be on board. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Said, we've never argued about it ever. He's always listened to me, then got triggered, and then been like, "Don't listen to me."
Bit much now.
They're the old days.
Yeah.
And
Bit much now.
And that's basically the same with my mum and my dad. My dad tries to argue with him, but I just tell him that he's being stupid and he should not ever debate me because he knows he's going to lose. He knows that.
So true.
Yeah, I also tell them that they created me as well. My mum's the animal lover. My dad's always told me to stand up for myself, so they've created a vegan activist.
And now two.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
They're building an army.
Yeah, literally.
The one thing that is really great about it is it does show you that, it, as much as you can come to a place, where you're just like, that's never going to change, and you kind of try and accept it. It can happen. It can be 10 years down the line. It can be something. Everyone's got a different catalyst. I think that's something, doesn't just apply fun to everybody. Like Colin's catalyst was he needed to go and see it. He needed to see it face to face. That was the thing he needed. Like, he heard it from me and everything, but that allowed him to switch off. He needed to be there, see it for himself, and then go, that's bad. So I guess everyone's just got to find what that catalyst is for their family. Do they need to drag them to a farm? Do they just need to, find the right footage or something? Some people don't want to see slaughterhouse footage. They want to see happy animals. They want to see like a happy pig that's been rescued. That gets them attached to it, seeing them as an individual and as these amazing, happy, beautiful creatures. So yeah, it's it's a really good feeling to know that it can happen. It's good. I think it's going to be the start of a further journey in the family. I feel that now there's two of us.
Yeah.
I think
It's going to get brutal now.
We've opened the black hole within the family, and I think it's going to be even harder for people to kind of ignore it. One of the things that I thought was really cool when we posted the video in our family WhatsApp was Curtis. Our cousin Curtis reacted.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, that's really got me thinking about things." And I'd never heard any. I mean, I spoke to Curtis briefly about it, kind of thing, but it was really kind of. I think the fact that everyone's heard it from me and now they can hear it from Colin.
Yeah.
It's like if someone tells you something and then someone else comes along and verifies it. Yeah. It's like that.
Yeah.
So it's like I've now got the verification. I can kind of say something and be like, if you don't believe me, go and ask Colin.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So I think it's obviously it's a massive win for the animals. I'm obviously super proud. You finally listened.
Yeah.
We did it and everything, and you went in there and you did exactly, the one thing I really respected was the fact that you listened, you went in there, you did exactly what you needed to do, you took it seriously, and that was really appreciated because I think some people could have just gone in and kind of played up a little bit kind of thing, but you were like, like you said, you wanted to do it as respect for me, and I appreciated that. I thought it was really good that you were just like, no, actually, I really want to hear him out and I really want to do it the right way so I can get the experience that Chris wants me to have.
Yeah.
I thought that was it. It was really nice that you did that. And yeah, I'm just excited to see kind of where this goes. I mean, I know Mum and Dad are now really triggered, which is
Mum and Dad, we're coming for you.
which is hilarious.
We're dragging you all.
Lions family tours.
I've already had my dad on the phone. I'm vegetarian first. I don't think it's the right thing.
Yeah, he even told me that he thought you would never go vegan. He said that, and I went, no, I reckon he will. And he was like, I think Colin might go vegetarian, but I don't think he'll go vegan. And I was like, no.
Yeah. See, even after I had the conversation with him, he went quiet. He was like. He was literally like, okay.
Yeah. And I'm hoping, and I know you're going to watch this, Mum, but I'm hoping that this might give my mum the little bit of push to it. I mean, I've got to give her credit. She has definitely made a ton of changes. Both her and Dad have made a ton of changes. Really positive changes. But
it's time.
Come on, Mum.
They know.
Come on, Mum.
And January is coming, the January. Easiest time of the year to give it a go.
Yeah.
You've now got 2 people in the family.
I've already taught you the pizza base, so no excuses.
So I think that, I think it's going to be an interesting time, not just for Colin moving forward and Colin's, direct family, Maddie Oliver and that, like, where their story is going to go, but just as a extended family, I think now it's not just me. It's just going to bring a new kind of element of, oh shit, yeah, this is real, and we need to kind of pay attention to it, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
We've got a message from Peter Egan of words of encouragement for you.
Hi, Colin. Well, look, congratulations. You have made, I think, the best decision of your life. I became a vegan 14 years ago, and it was totally an ethical choice, not a dietary choice, because I couldn't stand the cruelty imposed on animals because of industrialized animal agriculture. So you will find your life has changed not only spiritually and physically. I feel wonderful every day knowing that I don't ever encounter death on my plate. So congratulations. Enjoy a wonderful, new, compassionate life.
Oh,
Big up Peter Egan, what a legend.
Thanks, mate. That's lovely.
Yeah. He wanted to take the time out to send you some words of encouragement. He was really touched by listening to what you had done. He was very admirable of what you'd done, as we all are, as people watching would be. What you have done has been nothing short of commendable. You've not shied away from anything. You've hit every challenge head on, and you've exposed yourself fully to everything. And for that, like, a huge thank you from us and from the animals.
I think it needs to be stressed again, okay? People do not do this. Like, really don't. I don't know anyone non-vegan who's just gone into a farm.
So we have a new vegan in the world and an animal rights activist. Thank you so much to everyone who has liked and shared all the other videos that have been on this journey. And please write in the comments any words of encouragement for Colin or for anybody else here. And for anyone who is not vegan, you've heard the truth. Now, what will you do with that?
Will you continue to look away, or will you do what's right?